Welcome once again to this edition of The Golden Rule, a program that's intended to help the listeners draw closer to God, learn more about God, or meet God for the first time, or learn some things about God that they had never heard before. And we've been doing a series on Psalm 91, which is an amazing, amazing, short, 16 verses long. You can read it in about 90 seconds. But it is packed full of tremendously powerful information. I may repeat myself, but it's okay. You know what? You can go over this over and over and over and over and over again and get something new out of it every time. This is also referred to as the soldier's psalm. And the reason is because there are countless testimonies of how soldiers in war situations who believed in God and who claimed the promises of Psalm 91 were supernaturally spared. I think of one in particular where a guy was in a battle zone and he was walking through the woods, and all of a sudden an enemy soldier with a drawn gun pulled out in front of him about 20 or 30 feet away and shot him point blank. And the guy fell to the ground, and the enemy thought he was dead, so he walked away, find another one. And the soldier stood up, and he couldn't figure out why am I not dead? And then he reached in his pocket where he had a pocket New Testament, small little thing that he'd been given before he went off to war. And he opened it, and there was a bullet lodged in that book, in that New Testament. And when he started opening it gently, the bullet had penetrated and stopped at Psalm 91. Now you may say, that's a coincidence, or he was lucky. And that's what people who don't know God say about God's miracles. They won't admit that God spared the guy. But that's just one of countless testimonies. But as I've mentioned before, these promises in Psalm 91 don't apply to everybody on the face of the earth. They don't. They apply to a select group of people. People who are described in verse 1. He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The person who hangs with God 24/7. He eats Jesus, he thinks Jesus, he talks Jesus, he drinks Jesus, he dreams Jesus. He can't get Jesus out of his mind. It's an obsession, kind of. And a good obsession, I may say, because he wants us to be aware of his presence 24/7. I heard of another Christian young man. He was hanging around with the wrong crowd. He was in the back seat. There was four kids in the back seat. They'd all been, or three of them had been drinking. He hadn't, but they'd been drinking. And the car in which they were driving flipped over. Three of them got killed. He didn't have a seatbelt on, but he survived. And when asked afterwards, he was describing, he says, I can't explain to you how it happened, but I never left the seat. It's like there was a pressure keeping me pressed against the back of the seat. I never moved forward, never got thrown around the car. I just got pinned in one position. Well, this book says, what does it say? It says, there shall no evil befall you, neither shall any plague come nigh your dwelling. Why? For he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. They'll bear you up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. Angels are real. They're all over the place. They're invisible, but probably a fifth of this book exists because of angels. The whole book of Revelation was an angel revealing to John what was to come. Angels all over the book. Jehoshaphat was confronted by a threatening situation. Huge army coming to attack him. He didn't know what to do. So he said, prayed. He prayed. What do you do when the odds are against you? Throw up your hands and surrender, or do you pray? Well, what are you going to do? What can God do against an enemy that large? I mean, they're overwhelming. They're like grasshoppers out there. They prayed. And God says, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And you know what the Bible says happened that night? One angel wiped out 185,000 enemy troops. They were all dead the next morning. How did that happen? An angel, one angel, wiped out 185,000 fully equipped, fully trained soldiers. You know, when Jesus was about to go to the cross, his disciples were saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he said, don't you know that I could call 10 legions of angels to get me out of here? I have at my disposal thousands and thousands of angels that could wipe this bunch out in the blink of an eye. And I could call upon them because I created them. And they heed my command. But in this particular instance, I neither need nor want their help because I came here to go to the cross, to die, to give my life. They're not dragging me out of here. In fact, when they came to get him, Jesus talked to the people that are coming to arrest him. He says, who are you looking for? And they said, we're looking for Jesus of Nazareth. And Jesus said these words, I am he. I am. And immediately when he spoke those words, the whole mob fell flat to the ground. How'd that happen? He's God. He can do whatever he wants to do. And he was demonstrating to them, you're not dragging me out here. I'm not going to kick and scream and try and escape. I came for this purpose. Now get up and let's get on with what we have to do. Angels. 10,000. I could have called 10,000 angels. When Jesus was fasting for 40 days, in the wilderness, the devil came and tempted him. He hadn't eaten or had anything to drink for 40 days. And the end of the 40 days, the Bible says, angels came and ministered to him. Well, if Jesus could benefit from the ministry of angels, how about us? In the Garden of Gethsemane, when Jesus was agonizing over the fact that he was going to die the next day, and he knew how he was going to die, and he knew the pain he was going to experience, the pressure on him as a man was so intense that he sweat, the Bible says, as it were, great drops of blood. Actually, blood was coming out of his pores. And there's a medical explanation for that type of thing. And then it says, an angel of the Lord came to strengthen him in that time of agony. Boy, there are times when we need strengthening. We need comfort. We need provision. Angels. He shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. For who? This is the one that dwells in the secret place of the Most High. Not everybody. Only the ones who dedicate their lives to God and want to experience his blessings, his protection, his provision. The promises are there. Anybody can have them. But not everybody wants them. Do you want them? I'm asking you, listener. You're watching this program right now. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are with the Lord. But do you want God on your side? Do you believe in God? The Bible says the fool has said in his heart, there's no God. And you may be listening right now who says that very thing. There's no God. And according to God, you are a fool. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean you don't have intelligence. it means you're making some very, very foolish decisions. Foolish decisions. So, here we go. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. You don't know who Gladys Harrington is, do you? No. She was 95 years old. I was down here. She was on the top of the hillside. There was a stone path coming down, and Gladys was coming down the stairs. And I felt the Lord saying to me, go over there and help her. Well, I dragged my feet. I didn't go. And the next thing I knew, she tripped. And she was falling headlong down those stairs. How old is she? 95. She didn't fall. She floated to the ground. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She was like a feather. And when she hit the ground, she went, boop, like a perfect landing. No injuries of any kind, no bruises, no cuts or scrapes, nothing. How do you explain that? He shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all your ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. That's what happened to Gladys. She tripped on a stone. She fell. 95 years old. I felt bad because I hadn't responded quickly, but I got to witness that whole thing. It was amazing. Have you ever seen an angel? You ever met anybody else who's seen an angel or been ministered to by an angel? They can come in all shapes and sizes, all kinds of fashions. You know, some, Hebrews 13:1 says, be careful to entertain strangers. In other words, make sure you don't neglect an opportunity to minister to a stranger, because thereby some have ministered to angels or entertained angels unawares. In other words, they didn't know they were angels. They appeared in human form, just like any plainclothes, any of us out on the street, but they were angels. And the Bible says, that are they not all ministering spirits sent to minister to the necessities of the saints? To minister to the necessities of the saints. What's a saint? It's not some super duper special person that died 500 years ago and got voted on. The Bible says, the word saint means set apart ones, sanctified ones. When you give your life to Jesus, you become a saint. The title applies to you. You are now set aside for God's purposes by your own choosing. You chose to give your life to God. And he says, okay, you are now called a saint, a set-apart one. So the angels are ministered to the necessities of the saints. I'm so glad I have ministers, angels ministering to me. I don't do it every single time, but when I get in my car, I thank God for the angels that are in front of me, behind me, to the right, to the left, above, beneath, and inside the car. They're all over the place. They're in this room right now. This room is filled with angels. And there's probably a demon or two around here. You can't see either one of them. They're invisible, except they choose to make themselves visible. He should give us, you know, I'm not finished with Psalm 91. Not finished. I'm finished with time. I'm just about running out of time, but I'm just going to read the last 3 verses in this thing, because the first 13, it's man talking about God, but in verses 14 and 15, it's God speaking. And here's what he says: because he, the saint, has set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I'll set him on high because he's known my name. He shall call upon me and I will answer him. Who calls upon God? Saints. People that are set apart for God's purposes. They call upon God and he says, I'll answer him. I'll be with him in trouble. You ever been in any kind of trouble? God says, I'll be with you in trouble. Who's he going to be with in trouble? The saints, the set aside ones, the ones that are dedicated their lives to God and are living 24/7 for him. I'll deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. I like that last verse because I'm old, 86 and counting. And I'm just going to keep on going. I'm shooting for 120. It was good enough for Moses. I should be able to appropriate that for myself. You may laugh and say, oh, I got a picture on my desk of a guy that was 111 years old, a preacher, and he had 2 years of preaching engagements in advance. 111 years old, still preaching. Is that possible? It's possible. Will I make it? Stop by in 36 years, 34 years. What is it? I'm 86. 34 years. Stop by in 34 years and maybe you can attend my funeral that day. I'm not being facetious. I'm being serious. I believe in long life. I believe God's promised us long life. And I believe we can appropriate long life if we live life His way and believe His promises. Delight yourself in the Lord. He'll give you the desires of your heart. Thank you so much for tuning in again today. God bless you. We'll see you next time on The Golden Rule.